Welcome back to Friends of the Night. One of the most significant alien UFO encounters happened in 1947. When we think of UFOs, aliens coming to Earth, the Roswell incident stands out as the most significant thing that's ever happened in American history. Okay, so the first time that they found the debris was from a guy on a ranch. They found a little piece of the debris. When they went back to investigate more of what this thing was, is when they found the alien bodies. And it is told that the debris was taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force, where they kept all the debris in a room called the Blue Room. Now, when we go to Roswell, it's now decades later, we go to Roswell, and for some reason, the weather balloon that they said is what crashed is nowhere to be found. And I find it extremely interesting because if this was the biggest hoax, the biggest just thing that happened that was really nothing in American history, then why isn't the weather balloon displayed somewhere in Roswell where it's like, hey, this thing had national interest all over the world, really, and here it is, the weather balloon that crashed. And it's nowhere to be found. And it's kept somewhere secret at Wright-Patterson Air Force. So that is the first step that makes me believe that whatever crashed at Roswell wasn't a weather balloon. Because if it was a weather balloon, there should be no problem to display it and be like, hey, this is what everybody thought was a UFO. It was a goof. Here it is, everyone. Now, we can ask many questions about what happened to UFO researchers, UFOologists, everybody now. But the people that I find the most interesting you can ask about what happened in 1947 is the families of the people that went and saw the debris and really were there firsthand. Now we go to Jesse Marcel, the first lieutenant responder to the debris. Okay? He went there, investigated the crash debris, and took it home before he brought it to the government. He woke his family up in the middle of the night and said, hey guys, look what we found. Check it out. And the son remembers being woken up in the middle of the night and finding this weird shit on the kitchen floor. It was taken out of his father's car. Okay, so his father, Jesse, woke the family up in the middle of the night and said, hey guys, look at this. Now, you have to remember that Jesse Marcel was a very highly ranked lieutenant for America. He's not going to wake his family up freaking out in the middle of the night over a weather balloon. I'm sorry, okay? But he knows what a weather balloon looks like. They were practicing flying them all the time during that time in the 1940s. Okay, so he knew that a couple sticks and some paper, what a weather balloon was. And now he's waking his family up in the middle of the night, freaking out. Hey, we have something crazy here. His son recalls tilting some of the debris, and it had, to him, looked like Egyptian writing.
Okay. Jess, how about just saying your whole name so that we can make sure we get everything right?
Jesse Antoine Marcel.
Seriously?
Seriously.
And Jess, I wonder if I can take you back to the night that your father came home. Do you have an idea about what time of the night that was and what you were doing at the time?
Well, I was asleep for one thing. I want to say it was very early hours. It was either very late in the evening or very early in the morning when he came back in. And I had awakened both myself and my mother.
And why did he wake you both up?
He had something he wanted to show us. This apparently was some debris or something he brought in from the field at that time, and I understand he was on his way to the air base to deliver this, but he felt that this was unusual enough that he wanted us to see it first before he delivered it to its proper destination. The most unusual part of this whole thing was what was on the I-beam, on the inner surface of the I-beam. Because as you look at it head on, there appeared to be a type of writing on the mainframe itself. This writing was definitely a purplish violet hue. It did have an embossed appearance because you could, if I recall, you could rub your finger along it and you could tell it had texture. I don't recall seeing any lines or letters of any kind, but it was more like geometric shapes. Or, well, it's hard to describe it. It was curved geometric shapes. There might have been some triangles and circles, but it was solid.
Is it possible you might have mistaken it for Russian, Japanese, any other language?
No way.
Anything like hieroglyphics?
Well, in my first impression was this is Egyptian hieroglyphics, but I knew enough at that time to know that it wasn't, because hieroglyphics usually have some animal symbols in it also, but there was none.
Okay, so now let's just say this is a weather balloon, that America is flying for testing, whatever. Why does it have Egyptian writing on it? Can we go back and look to see if America was buying weather balloons from Egypt? I mean, if we could figure that out, and there's documents saying that America were buying their weather balloon supplies from Egypt, that would explain something. But I haven't heard of that yet. I haven't seen anything about that. So to me, we can cross that out right there, that there really shouldn't be any reason why there are Egyptian writing on the weather balloon that was found. It makes no sense. So the family believes that it was the first time that anybody on Earth read an alien language. Okay? Also, you have to think about it like this, is that when Jesse brought the debris to the government were already getting ready to release a statement saying that it was a weather balloon, when Jesse clearly knew that it wasn't a weather balloon. So it makes me believe too, and this is complete conspiracy, is I wonder if Jesse turned absolutely everything over to the government. If you were the person that found this UFO crash and you were the first person there, and you were skeptical on whether or not the truth is going to be told to the American people, to the public, to our country, to our world, would you hand everything over? I would have to speculate that some people would, because they want to do the right thing. But is the right thing really handing everything over for things to be twisted to the public? So sometimes I question, could there still be something out there hidden that was from the UFO crash of Roswell that maybe wasn't turned over? Maybe if you really get down to it, and this is a cover-up, and the government is lying to us about what was found, the right thing to do would be to hold on to something, to bury it in a backyard, to leave it in his car, whatever. For one day for that to come out and to break a news story that, hey, we found another piece of debris from the Roswell crash, and obviously it is not a weather balloon. So again, that is complete conspiracy, that there could be something else out there. I wonder if there is. In interviews with the son, Jesse Marcel Jr., the son of the lieutenant, an interviewer asked him, do you believe your father turned everything over? And he said, yes, my father loved this country, and he would never do anything like that would, hide anything from the American government. And, I find it believable that is the case. Even when Jesse Marcel, the lieutenant, said later on in life what he thought the debris from the crash was, he said it was not from this earth, and that was it. He didn't say the government is lying to you. He didn't say this is the greatest cover-up in American history, in world history. He didn't say anything that would bring shame to America or our government. He just said what he found was not from this earth. And his son said that because he loves America, and he understands the position that America was put in, where this could create hysteria, this could change humanity forever, what was found, and if it was released to the public. So it really wasn't his place to say anything besides it wasn't from this earth. Now we go to another family. The sheriff of Roswell, Wilcox, told his family the same thing. You know, the kids, when they talk later on record, they say, my dad showed us this thing. It wasn't from this earth. He talked about it for years. So his family as well had to deal with this idea that they had something unearthly at the hands of the government. And forever, years went by, and it's been just a weather balloon, or just the idea of like, we don't really know what it was. Maybe it was a UFO. But these families were the ones that really had to deal with seeing this debris, with having to deal with the idea that everyone's going to think you're crazy for believing that this was a UFO, when clearly the government is saying that it's not. So when I like to reflect on the Roswell incident, I always like to listen to the family members talk. When I tell you I've watched Jesse Marcel Jr., the son of the lieutenant that investigated the crash, I watch his interviews more than anything, because he was just a young boy in the kitchen at the time, being woken up in the middle of the night looking at this debris. And he says, it was weird when you tilted it. You couldn't see it at first, but when you tilted the debris sideways, you could see this strange, to him, looked like Egyptian writing. Now, maybe it wasn't Egyptian. Maybe it just looked like Egyptian to him, to us, because one, we can't read Egyptian, and that was the closest thing to it, right? That's what it looked mostly like. So again, and this ties to the whole thing, it's like you see the Ancient Aliens, the TV show, where it's been pushed down our throats for all these years, and then when you hear a young boy talk about what it looks like, he says it looks Egyptian. Now, the last thing I'll leave you with today is that when the debris was recovered, it was brought to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And that's a given. If you listen to the radio broadcast of the crash and where the debris was brought to, it says clearly Wright-Patterson, okay?
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, in 2022, a new Air Space Force branch comes out with this crazy Egyptian logo, which I find extremely interesting, that this Space Force branch with an Egyptian logo is coming out, and it's also where we believe, not even where we believe, where we know that the debris from Roswell was brought to.
Anything like hieroglyphics?
Well, in my first impression was, this is Egyptian hieroglyphics, but I knew enough at that time to know that it wasn't, because hieroglyphics usually have some animal symbols in it, also, but there was none.
And again, this whole time, that the blue room is a space, a cell, a room at Wright-Patterson where they believe that this debris from the crash has been held. Now in 2022, you got this branch coming out that has this big Egyptian logo. No red, white, and blue, nothing, just Egyptian. So I find the whole thing very strange, and I think the thing that makes me wonder the most is there possibly a piece of this debris hidden somewhere in America that maybe our government doesn't know about? Maybe there's a chance that George Wilcox, the sheriff, hid something somewhere. Let alone, could there be a possibility that Jesse Marcel took a piece of the debris and put it somewhere? I mean, it just seems like if you know your government is going to cover this up and you're skeptical on what's to do, because now this becomes bigger, right? You're the one dealing with this. This becomes bigger than just like a government thing. This is like, this changes the world. Like, this is not just an America found something, turn it over. This is like, no, wait a second. This is the meaning of life, our purpose, the universe, and now what's the right thing to do? Give it all over and you know that they're going to cover this thing up? Or do you bury something in the backyard? Do you give something, you hide something somewhere? I don't know. Complete speculation. But I just wonder if years to come, will something come out where it was like, hey, the backyard of Jesse Marcel was dug up and they found whatever. I mean, I think it's something that most of us have not even considered before, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of Jesse Marcel, George Wilcox, the sheriff, anybody involved that was there that day. You have to wonder, is there anything still out there? You guys let me know. I'll talk to you soon.